There we go.
Uh-huh. Good evening to everyone. I'm Lynn Williams and I'm chair of the WLIP membership committee, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you this evening to actually a special program of the year that we all look forward to every year, and that's when we have the opportunity to hear from our grantees who were funded by women leaders in 2021. It's always an exciting and inspiring program, and it's just so nice to have all of you here to share it with us. As you may know, the Women Leaders Membership Committee plans several programs for the year to inform, educate, and network with our members and their guests. Tonight is actually our last meeting of the year where both members and guests can attend. And as this year is coming to a close, I do want to express my appreciation to the members of the membership committee who have been enthusiastic and so creative in developing our programs over the years and over the year. And to also thank our president, Barbara, and our vice president, Linda, for being so supportive and joining in every meeting that we had this year. It has been a good programmatic year this year. And I do want to also thank our guests as well for supporting our programming. And as I always do as membership chair, you know, I always say I'd be remiss if I didn't say something about membership. And I do want to say if there's anyone here this evening who has been contemplating membership or has an interest in membership information, I do encourage you to contact me or contact anyone on the membership committee, any member actually, and even the office, and we would be thrilled to talk to you more about membership. And we would be very, very happy to have you join with us. As you know, growing our membership is so important because the more people we have, the more we can do for our community. And tonight, as you hear about the accomplishments of the grantees that were approved last year, you will be, hopefully you'll be encouraged to become a member of this giving group. Also, as we look forward to 2023, for the members who are here, we are looking for more people to serve on the membership committee. We're planning an expansion this year. So please let your wishes be known to us if you're interested in working on programming with us. Now we'll move on to the extraordinary program for this evening, but let me just mention a couple of reminders. If you would, please stay on mute during the session so that we can prevent any background noise. And we will have questions after each speaker and at the end of the program as time permits. So please use your chat mechanism to pass your questions along to us. And we'll have someone looking at those questions and preparing to present them for answers. Also, at the end of the program, I think you all know that we're having group sessions. And as I understand, it's BYOD tonight, bring your own drink. Sorry, ladies, that we're on virtual and can't have a cocktails together. But I hope that you will stay on and enjoy discussion with other members. We've done this in the past and it's been a lot of fun. So I hope you will try to stay. Instructions for the group sessions will come later after the program. So at this time, I'm delighted to turn the program over to our Women Leaders Chair, Barbara Best, who will introduce the program and our speakers. And please enjoy the evening. And thank you so much for supporting our program tonight. Barbara?
Thank you so much, Lynn. I'm here, as you can see, with Mary Kay Materi. We actually are being hosted by Val Lester. We're testing out a watch party concept, which when we can't all be together, we thought in the future we might encourage others to do a watch party so that you could have some smaller community and be able to connect in person. Although I think the virtual world is here to stay, and I'm glad we have the breakout room mechanism also. So we're looking forward to joining that as well. I do need to really pause and thank Lynn Williams for her leadership on the membership committee. Lynn, thank you so much for all that you've done. You're such a wonderful inspiration in terms of some of the great ideas that you have helped foster with the committee, your commitment to really, fostering engagement and encouraging membership. We really appreciate your willingness to step up and lead. This is a volunteer organization, and we know you have so many other leadership roles in our community that are very important. So thank you so much for sharing your skills and your time with us. Now, those are going to be big shoes to fill, so we'll have to see who we will step in your stead. But again, anyone who wants to be involved in that group to foster engagement in some of our programs, please let us know. So you'll see here, it's a pretty straightforward agenda, just as you all anticipated. We're really excited, as Lynn had mentioned. This is really one of my favorite programs, a lot of our favorite programs, because it's really the essence of what Women Leaders is all about. The causes we fund and learning more about the impact the organizations are making and that our funding is making. So you'll see here we have some of our presenters from our 2021 grants. And then we're going to hear, I start to pass my role from Chair of Women Leaders next month off to Linda Conway. So she'll close the program here and kind of talk about what's next. That seems fitting. And then again, to those cocktails and conversations. So and speaking of leadership, I'm really grateful to Mary Kay for her role in leading the cause task force this past year. And I'm going to turn things over to you.
Thank you, Barbara. Nice to be here with you tonight, and thank you to Val for hosting us too. Well, I would be remiss if I did not begin by thanking the cause task force that served for the past season. Here's the members listed here. I think I've said before, and it's worth mentioning again, this is really important work, I think, and also is a way to connect with your community and learn about organizations you might not otherwise be aware of as you choose to do the very important task of carefully trying to meet the goals and the directions of this group in making the giving decisions. So thank you, committee. Many are returning to next year, and we look forward to that. And here is the list of the organizations that we funded in the 2022 season. We had $72,000 to use during this grant cycle, which was a significant increase. You'll see. We're actually going to hear from grantees from the 2021 cycle tonight, and that's because they've had the money for over a year, so they can talk to us about what they did. This group got their funding in June, I would say late June, and so we'll hear from them next year. But I want to start by noting the causes that we focused on at your direction: mental health and youth, childcare, and $35,000 of the 72 went to 2 organizations there. Childcare was an issue that you selected, and 2 organizations were funded there, each with $5,000. We provided a total of $12,000 to Housing Forward in connection with housing and rental assistance. We gave some food-related food insecurity funding out to the Quinn Center. It's the second year that we funded the Quinn Center, and you'll hear from them tonight. And then $5,000 we tucked away to go back to suicide prevention, as we thought that was a very important cause as well. So thank you for your donations. I think they'll be well served by these organizations. Hope you agree. Turning then to the 2021 cycle, see there we had $55,000 to grant in this year. So we had a significant increase over this year. And so we'll return to this later in the program, but this is the time of year when typically donations start to come in at a higher degree from our membership. So we encourage you to do that. We'd love to be able to meet or hopefully exceed the funding that we had last year for organizations. It really makes a difference in what we can accomplish. So you're going to hear in the 2021 season, we funded 6 organizations. You're going to hear from 4 of them tonight. Two of them, Smart Love Family Services and Sister House of Chicago, were not able to, they just weren't available tonight. But I wanted to just take a brief moment and tell you what the funding was, how it was used for those organizations. First, to start with Smart Love, we made a donation to enable them to expand their minority parenting program. And that provided kind of group parenting counseling and one-on-one counseling services to families of color. And then we also gave some funding, $15,000 to Sister House, and that's a mental health and relapse prevention program. And we specifically funded a residential and behavioral health services program. And that was a program for women of color in a 2-year program, working on recovery from a history of addiction. So that was how those funds went. So very proud to have funded those organizations, and sorry you won't hear directly from them tonight, but I wanted to at least give you a little bit of detail too. And with that, I think I'll go to the next slide, which will show you the order of events tonight, hearing from the grantees. So here's who you are going to hear from. You're going to start with Proviso Partners for Health, and we're going to hear from Kelly Gray, who is a project manager there. We're then going to go to Thrive Counseling Center and hear a presentation from Jenny Rook, the executive director of Thrive. From Beyond Hunger, we have a couple of people joining us, Michelle Zurkowski and Terry Miller. Michelle is, of course, the chief executive officer there, and Terry is the director of development. And then we're going to hear from the Quinn Center, as I mentioned already, and we're going to hear from Liz Young, their development director. So welcome to all of you that are joining the call. Welcome to the grantees, and thank you for making your presentations tonight. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Kelly, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that in case there's something that Kelly wishes to share, I'll be able to do that. Thanks, folks.
Thank you so much. Let me try to share my screen. All right. Give me one moment, sorry. Okay. So hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Kelly Gray. I am serving as a co-lead with Proviso Partners for Health, which is also known as PP4H. PP4H is a multi-sector coalition that works to promote community health, health equity, and transformational systems change. Residents and community leaders, they're the ones that drive the work, and they bring their lived experience to address unique needs and assets. During the pandemic, I personally felt pain and saw the effects of racial trauma from not only the virus, which was running rampant, but also the racial tensions from police violence and brutality. And so the images of not only Black men, but also Black women were very haunting to me, because I saw myself in Breonna Taylor, and I saw my 2 sons, one young adult on teenager Black males, and George Floyd. And so I felt the need to be free from an image of always needing to be strong and holding in these feelings. And so, as you can see from this image in my presentation, that was me. I felt all of these pressures and traumas kind of beating me up, but I was holding it all in, trying to keep this strong image, but having tears in my eyes, but not letting them fall, but also knowing that I needed peace. And so what I realized with talking to like my closest friends and family, that they were feeling the same way. And as a result, I created a safe virtual gathering space for Black women to speak freely and address the racial trauma, but also find a space for healing. The reactions from participants in the community, they showed a desire to expand and continue to connect with honest and open conversations by Black women and for Black women on issues of racial healing. Contracting with women leaders in philanthropy, grant funding, they provided us the opportunity to address racism and mental health in transformative but also life-giving ways. Our goals was to increase the authentic communication, racial healing, and trust building from mental health providers and African-American women by providing a podcast and offering collaborative support with NAMI, which is also known as the National Alliance on Mental Health. So True You podcast, a storytelling space for self-discovery, was launched with a goal of changing hearts and mindsets through storytelling. It's co-hosted as a mother-daughter team, which includes myself and my mother. What's special about this is that it's multi-generational and we offer different perspectives while also providing depth and connection. We have monthly episodes with special guests having organic but also real conversations about the real issues that we speak through our own lived experiences. For example, our episode on Unapologetically Black, it allowed us to address times when we felt we couldn't be ourselves while trying to fit into white culture, whether it was on the job or at school. But we also realized our worth in that we didn't need to hide our authentic selves, and there was freedom and healing in that. All of the episodes are approximately 30 to 45 minutes, and they range from addressing stereotypes in white America to exploring generational silence and honoring our ancestors, but also breaking that silence for the next generation. These are the women who were guests on the podcast. I do want to highlight that our Sister Circle podcast episode was the collaboration with NAMI. Originally, we did propose having an in-person panel, but they were so impressed with hearing the podcast, they asked if we could change that in-person to a podcast episode instead. As a result, we were able to extend our reach and the sustainability of our voices. This episode has a total of 40 downloads currently and has reached as far as Germany, according to our stats. The panel had 4 different generational perspectives, and that was baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, and Generation Z. We specifically tackled questions on how we cope when faced with current racial trauma and what does counseling currently look like for us personally. There was very rich conversation and a mixture of responses from positive to negative, where some felt they could not relate to the counselor and just not being, just not feeling safe. But there was also a rich conversation with Letitia from NAMI, who met everyone where they were by sharing her own story and truly listening. She talked about coming from nothing and not having it easy, and that she was able to understand viewpoints because she was a product of some of those same environments, being from the west side of Chicago. She also discussed the importance of breaking down these cultural stigmas and being able to advocate for ourselves. In the end, she shared that despite the challenges they face as a mental health organization, the importance of truly just talking to someone. We learned that planning and collaborating with other entities took a lot more time than we anticipated or expected, and this was due to staffing and COVID setbacks. Okay. There are 5 episodes published for the purposes of this grant and 8 total episodes from October through June 2022. To date, we have 10 episodes, which are all available now on our website, www.trueyou.org. It's also on our Apple, Google, iHeart, and Spotify platforms. Overall, we are very proud of the accomplishments we were able to make in such a short period of time, and responses and feedback from surveys to online comments have been extremely positive. Based on the results from this initial pilot, we will continue to listen to the community and provide a safe space for authentic communication and trust for Black women dealing with the ongoing effects of racism, which are associated with mental health conditions. Currently, we are concentrating on more outreach with advertising and marketing for our podcast, but also next year, we're looking to expand to live in-person workshops where we not only have these safe spaces to tell our story, but also provide different forms of healing resources. And that's from providers to meditation, spiritual direction to journaling. One thing we do understand, and we even ask at the end of every podcast, what do you need personally for racial healing? Because we know that everyone's needs are different, and we understand that there are many different paths to racial healing. Thank you.
That was wonderful, Kelly. I'm going to just jump in. This is Carrie Summy. It looks like Barbara and Mary Kay might be just getting themselves settled there. Looking at our agenda, I see our next speaker is Jenny Rook. Folks, too, please, that was such a, thank you for sharing that, Kelly, and that moment of being very vulnerable in your own personal story as well. We appreciate your time here. If you have any
Hey,
questions or
Carrie.
comments, oh, hi, there you are.
Hi, sorry. Yeah, we joined the group here. So
Okay.
before Kelly jumps off, I did have a question. I did want to get a sense relative to you. Part of our excitement about, we were so excited to support your initiative, and we're delighted we were able to. And wanted to get a sense of using podcast as a vehicle. I love that it offered healing to the people who voiced and shared their stories, and people that listened to it. And did you feel as though it accomplished what you were hoping it would in terms of opening dialogue? And if you had more funding, would you look to continue that as a vehicle, or do you feel there to be other ways of using your financial resources to accomplish those similar goals?
Yeah, so I do feel like the podcast definitely opened the doors for a greater audience when it comes to terms of, and also with COVID, we were up and down, and so we didn't want to do those in-persons because of that. And so we felt like people still needed to find that space to use their, to tell their story. And so the podcast definitely accomplished that. And also bringing in the healthcare, a mental health care provider also brought a different perspective because they were able to ask questions. It was not only great for like the guests, like it was also great for the audience as well. And like I said, we do want to look into expanding back to maybe workshops, because we do understand, like, for resources, in terms of resources, if you could have like a time for meditation, a time, like, it just makes the whole experience richer if they had the resources there along with that space to tell their story. So yeah, we are definitely looking at funding opportunities as far as expanding to having both platforms, a podcast and maybe like quarterly workshops as well.
Thank you very much, Kelly. It was really very interesting to hear about your programs. I appreciate your presentation. So I'm going to turn us next to Thrive and Jenny Rook.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I just want to say thank you very much to you all for your support. We really appreciate that. I'm new. I just joined Thrive in April, so definitely still getting my bearings and learning a lot about the community, but really have appreciated getting to meet some of you at your events, and grateful that you supported Thrive this past year and the year before. We have been working hard to expand our programs for youth, so I'm going to speak about that tonight and the progress that we made. But first, I'll just give a little bit of a background on Thrive. We're an organization that's been around for 124 years. The bulk of our services are counseling, so we provide individual, family, and group therapy services. And the majority of our clients, about 80% of them, are on Medicaid. So we serve a very low income population. We also have psychiatry services, which are highly in demand, especially for people on Medicaid. There really aren't a lot of places for them to go. So we do see all ages, about age of 5 and up is currently our client load. And they're coming to us for psychiatry independently or sometimes therapy and psychiatry. So we have about 1,200 clients we see per year and about 300 to 400 psychiatry clients that we serve. We also have a 24/7 crisis line. So anyone who's having a mental health emergency can call Thrive directly and get somebody on the phone right away. And if we need them to come out to your home, they can also mobilize and be there. We also have a partnership with the police department. So if the police are on a call and they realize that the situation they're dealing with is more of a mental health issue, they will call Thrive and we will be there as soon as we can. So that's every day of the year, any time of day, we're available for those emergency services. And we also have a walk-in crisis program. So you can show up at our door and walk in and meet with someone right away if you're having an emergency. And then finally, we do prevention work and outreach education. We have a suicide prevention training that we've been providing in the schools for a little over a year. We also have our Thrive Talk programs where we provide education on mental health. They're mostly geared towards parents, but those are free resources that we provide in the community just to make sure people really understand what they can be doing themselves outside of, receiving therapy services. So like I said, last year, our goal was to expand mental health support to youth, and we did. So I'll talk a little bit about the outcomes that we had in our proposal and what we achieved with your support. We had a goal that 85% of the youth that were receiving counseling services would have a successful discharge. So meaning that they made progress when they were here and that we had an impact in some way. And we were pleased to report that 92% of our clients had successful discharge. And that's actually, if you look at the industry standard, that's really high. There's a lot of people that don't benefit from therapy. They're not ready for it, or they terminate because there's barriers to the service. So we're very proud that 92% of our youth clients made progress with us. We had a goal to serve 18 additional youth clients. Again, the youth program at Thrive is pretty new. So that was a small bar that we set. Well, we ended up exceeding that greatly. That was a 9% increase over the year prior. And we ended up increasing the number of youth clients by 78%. So we served a total of 228 youth clients last year. We also launched some specific therapy groups that were geared towards youth. One in particular is called Empowered for Success, and that was targeting female identified youth and really just helping them build self-esteem and confidence. They didn't necessarily have to have a mental health diagnosis, but looking at this as a way of hopefully preventing mental health issues and teaching them how to be resilient and navigate, a kind of a challenging time right now with the pandemic. We also served 1,150 students through Oak Park River Forest High School and Fenwick. We were providing a program called QPR. It's a suicide prevention education program. So this was working with youth to help them identify the signs of suicide so that they felt more comfortable approaching the peer if they realized that that person was struggling with suicidal thoughts, and then feeling comfortable also knowing where to get them support. And the feedback from this program was really great. I'll share some of it, but overall, the students said that they now knew where they could go. They felt more comfortable approaching another peer and talking about this very, sensitive subject, but they also knew what to do if they felt that somebody needed help. They knew where to send them or how to get them help. So one of the goals that we had was, if we looked at the surveys, 85% of high school students participating in the training said that they would recommend it to others. And then the other goal was that 75% of students would rate high their knowledge of the warning signs of suicide following the trainings. And this was an anonymous survey. So we didn't meet the one benchmark. The 85% of students would recommend the training to another person. 78% said that they would. So we just missed that. But if you read the comments, some of them were, I already knew everything about this. I didn't really learn anything. They were just those outliers that, maybe a little too cool for school, but then 92%, as opposed to the goal that we set for 75%, did rate their knowledge as high, saying that they understood better the warning signs for suicide. So we're really grateful that we could reach over 1,000 students last year. You all asked to share any pivots or redirection challenges that we had. So one is that the executive director turned over. So we had a little bit of a transition earlier this year. We also had the plans to hire a community, education program manager, so that they would help work with developing community partnerships, but also expanding the QPR program and overseeing the QPR program. And we had a transition with the person that was in this role before. So we did have a couple of our board members step up, get the training, and volunteer to run the classes. So we're very grateful that we're able to continue to provide them. But that was a pivot, and thank God we have a wonderfully supportive board of directors that was really willing to do that. So we are back, running that with staff, and excited that we have a new manager in place that can help us expand this program. And then you asked about the impact of COVID. I think we all know that there's a real mental health crisis happening right now, and it doesn't seem like it's getting any better in the near future. So we have a lot of work to do in terms of expanding our capacity to serve more people. And there's also a workforce shortage at the same time. So I will say that's really how COVID is impacting us right now, as we're kind of reeling from this and figuring out how we're going to meet the demands for services. But I will say one of the solutions we came up with is bringing in a human resources professional that can really help us take better care of our staff, pay more attention to retention and recruitment, and how we can just do a better job for our team to, try to keep them here longer and recruit really great professionals moving forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jenny. Mary Kay, are you able to hop on?
I am. Yeah, I see
there
we
you
have a
are.
question for you too. Yeah, I think I have my mute off. Good. The question is, what is the follow-up that is performed on those suicide clients, high schoolers, after their classes?
So for the students that receive the training, the follow-up is that we do the survey afterwards and get their feedback. So again, these aren't students that are identifying having any suicidal thoughts or anything like that. This is just training every single person in the freshman class how to look for these signs. So it's very much preventative.
Yeah, I thought so. So it's required for all the freshmen, right?
Yeah.
At Fenwick and OPRF?
For Fenwick, I'm sorry, for OPRF this year, Fenwick, and that Fenwick isn't going to participate. They're doing something different this year, but I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. So we're going to be meeting with them to follow up soon. For our crisis program, though, we will have youth that do call us that have suicidal intention or ideation, or parents calling on their behalf, and that we do follow up. If they're hospitalized, usually the hospital is providing a lot of resources and managing them after discharge. But if we don't hospitalize them, we are following up the next day to make sure that they still have the support that they need.
Thank you. Are there other questions for Jenny? Hearing that, appreciate your presentation, and thank you for the good work you're doing in our community. And then I'll turn it over to Beyond Hunger.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Just love being here and be able to share with you all the impact of the grant for us. But I also just love hearing about what our fellow nonprofits are doing around town. This is just fantastic. I love hearing all of your successes as well. So I'm going to you see my screen here that says ending local hunger. Okay, fantastic. Okay, great. So yeah, thank you so much for having us. Michelle is not able to be here. She had a prior commitment, but if she were here, I know that she would thank you all for your support over the years, and especially this year. It was really important for the programs that I'm going to tell you about. I thought I would just start with our vision and mission statements. We believe hunger is solvable, but we do know that we can't do it alone, and it does take all of us as a community. And our mission statement is harnessing the power of communities to end hunger. A lovely photo of some volunteers that were participating in our dispensa program. I thought I would just give you just a real quick update since our last meeting in September last year. At that time, we were talking a lot about the effects of the pandemic and how all of our service models had to change to meet, the needs of our families that we're serving, and doing so in a way that's dignifying for those folks. So most of those changes are still in place. For example, the drive-through and other programs, they did have to change a bit. Unsurprisingly, we are now seeing a 40% increase across all of our programs of program participants. As you can imagine, the price increases that we're seeing, the increases we're seeing at the pump are really having an adverse effect of the families that we serve. So we're really seeing just in September, since February rather, it's just really been a huge increase. Our pantry program, as a matter of fact, they were just comparing some numbers between this year and last. In August, we served 611 more families this August than we did last year. This September, we served 400 more families than we served last year. Those numbers are really quite high. Our home delivery program, which we're going to talk about in a second, has grown tremendously. We were serving about 250 families when we last spoke, and now it's over 300. And that now includes an additional delivery of fresh produce through a partnership that we have with 40 Acres. Last time we chatted quite a bit about our dispensa program. It was a project at the time. It's now become a formal program of Beyond Hunger. And this is where we're serving newly immigrant families, families that might have someone in their family that is undocumented, and therefore those families have a tendency to not reach out for services. And so this is really a way for us to serve them in a manner where they feel comfortable receiving groceries and also any additional services that we might provide. Because of the growth in that program, we've now got a little warehouse set up in the Grace Church that's right next door to the church where we're located, because we just needed more space to hold those groceries. And you won't believe this, but we're actually looking for cold storage. I know that you all supported us in the previous year with cold storage, but now we're getting more cold storage. This photograph that you see in the lower left corner is just a really fun story that I just wanted to share. Our Client Advisory Council member, Tracy, and Monette, who is our volunteer manager, were both invited to attend the White House conference. Last week, it was the first conference to really talk about ending hunger at a national level. There were only 500 people that were invited to attend, and the fact that we got to have two of our folks be there was just tremendous. So they're pictured there with Representative Jim McGovern and Joel Berg from Hunger Free America. And then this great big photo with these smiling faces is our newest program. It just kicked off this month. It's our In the Kitchen program. These are health ambassadors. These are clients of ours that are going to be trained to learn some basic nutrition education and some cooking skills, that they can take those skills and knowledge out into the community and host some cooking skill classes for a wider audience, extending our reach to folks. So this year, your support was really a tremendous help for us, and it was really helping us provide the food and nutrition that older adults need and disabled adults in our home delivery program. This program is where we deliver groceries directly to families. We call them on the phone. They get to choose what groceries they're receiving, and then they are delivered to them. So I just want to just take you through some of the goals that we had set up in our request from you all. So our first goal was to provide enough groceries so that everyone could have a minimum of 18 to 21 meals per person. So in this program, we're actually serving over 3,400 individuals. As I mentioned, we were serving about 250, and that has grown to about 320 households. We're hoping to increase that even more to over 350 households. And in these boxes of fruit or their deliveries, they're receiving about 55 pounds of food per household. And in that food that they're receiving, it's really a well-balanced variety of foods that people can actually make a meal out of. And it's the foods that they've chosen and that they want to enjoy. And so the majority of the households that we're serving really are a single individual. So the groceries that they're receiving is about 15 days worth of food. That's approximately 45 meals. So we certainly were able to exceed the goal that we had set out for ourselves with your support. Our next goal was to look at the quality of food that we're providing. So we've adopted something called a SWAP program, and it's a nationally identified program whereby all the food items are given a stoplight color, if you will, so red, yellow, or green, and the green being the most optimal food that you might choose, low in saturated fat, sodium, and sugar. So our goal was to provide 85% of those foods are in the green and yellow category. 91% of the food that we provided with your support actually fell into that category. which is great. There's actually, the food that we provide actually has a sticker on it. So you'll see the picture there on the right has like a little green apple. So there's stickers that go on each of the items in the bag of groceries that our home delivery clients receive. So they'll know which items they've selected are green or yellow or red. So like I said, 91% are in the yellow and green, so the most optimal level. We're actually working with some of our other food providers to see if we can make some of the other products that we're providing to be as healthy as well. We get some pre-seasoned meats as part of the USDA, and so we're working with some vendors to ensure that we can provide foods that maybe aren't pre-seasoned. Our third goal was to ensure that our program participants are really getting and seeing the benefit of the services we're providing. And like Jenny said, we love surveys, and we survey our participants as well. We wanted to make sure that at least 85% of those folks are feeling the positive impact of that. And in fact, they were. 85% of those folks surveyed reported that participating in the program allowed them to pay for other essential items like housing or medical care. I'm sorry, that was 87% was the participants that were surveyed. So this, they're saving a lot on the groceries they're receiving, and so those dollars can go to other needed items. Also, in that survey, 65% of our home delivered participants indicated that the food they receive lasts a full 2 to 3 weeks. So again, that's that 45 meals or 15 days worth of food. And that's really an important part of this program. And finally, we really want to make sure that folks have a lot of fresh produce. And that survey showed that 80% of our home delivery clients are indicating that they're actually eating more fruits and vegetables than they had ever done before being part of that program. So those are some great results from that survey. As we look to the future, the program that we've built really is built in a way that we can sustain it, and as well to grow it. When we have funding partners that really support us, that's really how that program works so well. So we are, like I had mentioned, intending to increase the number of households that we're serving. We originally, when this program started many years ago, it was just in Oak Park. And now we've expanded it, so we're in Oak Park and in the Austin community. One of the larger challenges around this program is actually the logistics of delivering the food. So we do have a new partner, that red van you see there. We have a new partner in the Austin community, Delivery First, and they're actually making those deliveries for us directly to individuals. And they actually have some mapping software that helps us be more efficient with the delivery routes that we're doing when we have our volunteers that are going out and providing those deliveries. We also have another program or another partner that we're working with called What About Us? And they're really helping us find additional volunteer support. And we're providing them with a stipend so that those individuals living in Austin can be a part of that program and then be compensated for their time, which is really fantastic. And that really seems to help us with all of those deliveries. Yeah, and we love having that dedicated team of volunteers. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. And then finally, I just wanted to leave you with a story. The home delivery program is unique because there's a lot of personal interactions with the families that we're serving. That, like I had mentioned, each one of those 300 or so households are receiving a phone call each month, and they're walking, our volunteers are walking them through a customized grocery list, and they get an opportunity to, pick the foods they want. But also it's that personal connection that people get when they get to talk with someone on the phone one week, and then the next week a volunteer shows up with those groceries. And that's really important to help combat isolation for folks that are homebound. We also send birthday cards. We include a monthly newsletter. It has recipes in it. We did a puzzle drive. We provided puzzles. So there's lots of things that we do to really engage with our home delivery clients. But the one thing is the folks really do look forward to those phone calls. Our program coordinator, Daisy, for example, I had called this one client, and her son, who helps take care of his mom, answered the phone. And he could have gone through the grocery list and picked out all the grocery items, but he said, "Oh my gosh, could you please call back in an hour?" His mom was at a doctor's appointment. She looks forward to these phone calls every month and she would love to speak with you. It's really important to her. So we did, in fact, call back an hour later so that she could have that conversation with Daisy. Daisy's just fantastic on the phone with all of our clients. And that's it. That's all I have. I just wanted to just again say thank you for your support. We just truly appreciate your partnership over the years, and it really just means so much to us and to the program.
Thank you, Terry. Wonderful to hear about the programs and the difference you're making in our community. Much appreciated. Does anybody have questions for Terry before we go to the next presentation? I didn't see anything in the chat room. Okay. Well, then I will move on to introduce Liz Young from the Quinn Center. Liz, please go ahead.
Hello, let me go ahead and share this. So you're going to hear a lot of similarities with Terry just because of the nature of our work. So I'll do a little bit of background and then jump into really the hunger ministry components of our work that WLIP has been so generous in funding over the past couple of years. For those who don't know or aren't familiar with us, the Quinn Center of St. Eulalia is located in Maywood. It was started 12 years ago. Yes, 12 years ago, formally as the kind of social justice outreach umbrella of St. Eulalia Church. It existed for 20 years before that as a very informal kind of drop-in center with some educational programs here and there. We now operate almost completely independently from the church. So there's certainly an ongoing relationship and affiliation there. They're very supportive of our work, but we do have our own board, our own staff, and are responsible for raising all of our own funds. So people often have questions about kind of that governance issue, but we offer a variety of services for all ages. So really the only ages we don't touch are 0 to 5 because we don't have clearance for that. But otherwise we have youth enrichment programming for grade school. We just launched some teen programs actually this fall, open gym program, kind of a teen hangout program. We have our hunger ministry. We have programs for seniors, and then we have kind of referral services. And we are also getting into the mental health space. So hopefully we'll have an update for you on all of that next year. But for now, I just wanted to kind of review a little bit about our mission. So our mission is to build an inclusive culture of justice, health, and peace across Proviso Township. So that's really our service area, Maywood, Broadview, Bellwood, and like the 9 or 10 other villages in Proviso. We inspire, educate, and empower through relationship building while confronting intersecting social problems and trying to fill the resource gaps in our community. So here are just some highlights of the ways that we do that. One is food security, which I will get into for the majority of this presentation. Another one is just addressing social determinants of health and promoting overall wellness. A lot of our families and neighbors, for that matter, suffer from diabetes, obesity, chronic illness, and that really starts from childhood. And so we really try to educate all members of the family on how to make healthy choices. And that relates to our hunger ministry, as well as the ways that we do physical activity in all of our programming, especially with our young people, social emotional learning, and then just kind of what does it look like to make those healthy choices. So we are often compiling and sharing resources based on what we hear in the community is a need. For example, we have been doing vaccine clinics for the last 1.5 years. We wish that we could be done, but we still have people knocking down our door and a line out the door 1.5 hours to 2 hours before the vaccine clinic opens. We are also partnering with our neighbor Housing Forward tomorrow night for a workshop on a new public benefit that's available to suburban residents. We have a partnership with Taller de Jose, which is a community resource center on the southwest side of the city in Little Village. whose mission is accompaniment. And so that's really taking whatever issue someone is struggling with. It could be legal, medical, navigating unemployment, adult guardianship, any problem that they don't feel equipped to solve, and accompany them emotionally as well as physically. So helping them identify the resources they need to solve that issue and literally go to appointments with them, go to court dates, go to the police station to fill out forms, to help them navigate the social service systems in our area that can be quite complex. And then finally, we are blessed with a 50,000 square foot building. Anyone who has not come by is more than welcome, but it's an old elementary school building. And so we use that for our own programming, but we are also able to leverage that for the benefit of the community in terms of hosting meeting spaces, events, conferences, workshops, Zumba classes, that sort of thing for some of our partners in the community. So to really get into hunger ministry, which is what you're here to hear about, I wanted to highlight a few of the elements of hunger ministry that your grant has funded over the past year or two. So the first one is youth enrichment. As I mentioned, we try to incorporate healthy lifestyles and healthy choices into all of our work with the youth. So we have an after school program that feeds them. And we also have dietetics interns from Loyola University that do nutrition class with the elementary school students, elementary and middle school. And then we have a summer camp that enrolls, this year we had close to 100 young people. And then we also hire teenagers as summer camp counselors. And so they are all fed on a daily basis as well. We also have a community garden that sort of serves as a living laboratory for those students in our summer program. So this year, their science class really focused on kind of the circle of life. And they were out working in the garden, weeding, harvesting, and actually making healthy snacks with some of the food that grows in that garden. Oftentimes we have kids that don't know. We had one that didn't know that French fries came from potatoes. Didn't know that they needed to peel like an orange before they could eat it. Just different things like that where they're not really, they haven't had a chance to learn where their food comes from or kind of what the finished product looks like versus the raw materials. So that's been really fun. And then our community soup kitchen, prior to the pandemic, operated every Tuesday evening with an in-person sit-down family style meal. That, as I talked about last year at this meeting, has been operating as a drive-through food distribution since March 2020. We are planning a return to in-person for later this fall. We're going to tackle a hybrid model, which I will talk about later because that brings its own set of challenges. But we also have a partnership with a local food justice hub called Real Foods Collective. Used to be known as Veggie RX, was through PP4H, but has sort of ventured out. And so we provide free bags of produce once a month to all of the families that come through our food distribution, as well as to about 30 families that are enrolled in Catholic Charities West Suburban Parenting Program, which has office space in our building. So that's actually through a grant from No Kid Hungry, which helps us address hunger within the 0 to 5 age group. And then finally, what we are gearing up for now is our holiday hunger outreach, where we pack Thanksgiving food boxes for over 800 families and distribute those again in a drive-through model. Last year, we started measuring the amount of food collected from our partners, and it was 18,000 pounds just of donated non-perishable food items. That does not include the many, many bulk orders that we placed from Sam's Club and Aldi, or the fresh produce that we purchased from Real Foods Collective and local farmers to include in those boxes. But we did pack and distribute over 800 boxes and are getting ready to do that again this fall. So all of the funding from WLIP supports all of this. This year for the summer program, we actually, we have been gradually cutting off our relationship with FSP, which is the government food service provider. Last year, we had a huge issue with them in terms of delivery and supply and food counts. And to be quite honest, the food was just gross and the kids did not want to eat it. And so it was very distracting from this learning environment because they thought it was gross. They were always hungry. They were always asking for snacks. They were complaining about the food and it wasn't nutritious. It wasn't filling them up for a day full of activity. And so we decided we have to take on the burden of paying for food that is actually going to meet the needs of these kids. So this year we purchased all of the food ourselves for lunches, and then just used FSP for breakfast and snacks. And I believe the plan next year is to just get rid of FSP altogether because it's kind of a headache and the value that it provides is not a great return on investment. But I don't want to skip ahead to my challenges because I've got a few of those. So this is just an example of the amounts of food that we have been serving every month over the past fiscal year. And like Terry said, we've definitely seen an increase. One of the issues is that it's very unpredictable. You know, for a while we could trace it to, well, it's the end of the month. So WIC or food stamps are running out, or, you know, the COVID, stimulus payments ran out. So maybe we have, you know, or the weather's getting colder or the holidays are coming up. So they're stockpiling for family members that are coming to visit. It's just really difficult to tell. Every time we think that demand is waning, we get like record numbers one week and our food is gone within half an hour. So that's been one of the challenges that I'll talk about as well, is just the unpredictability of that need. But we did serve over 16,000 meals to individuals from over 4,000 families in the past year. A few just stories to share. One is that we have been making an effort to collect more data. So about once a month, we will ask a question to everybody that drives through to pick up food. Sometimes it's how many seniors are in your home, how many youth under 5 are in your home, just basic demographics. But we did a couple of surveys trying to gauge really how much they were relying on the Quinn Center to provide, you know, basic pantry staples. And so 96% said that the Quinn Center was one of the few sources of food that their family had that given week, which is a really high number. And all of the numbers were actually surprisingly high. And so we, you know, never intended to be a food pantry. It was necessitated by the pandemic. We definitely want to move back to our relationship-centered model, but also don't make those changes without the approval of the community. And so if they're saying that they still need a way to get, you know, basic non-perishable items, we're going to continue offering that. And so this was just a reflection from a high school student who actually applied for one of our scholarships this year. They really relied on us for food because her parents had to work and were often putting themselves at risk during the pandemic just to be able to put food on the table. And so this made things a little easier on them. A couple of challenges or lessons learned. One is that I mentioned just the need is unpredictable, and that's hard to communicate with our partners who are providing sack lunches, for example. You know, we think 300 one week is going to be enough, and then they're gone. I mentioned resuming of in-person events. And so this is something that we're going to try out with our Thanksgiving meal this year. We do a hot meal on the Tuesday evening of Thanksgiving. And we're kind of piloting it slowly because we know that it's really going to put a high demand on our capacity. One, in terms of volunteers, because now we will need groups to bring sack lunches and groups to serve a hot meal, as well as volunteers to be able to provide that level of hospitality and dignified service that Terry was talking about indoor while serving that meal. So it is going to be extra volunteers and extra money because we're now doing those two different things at the same time. And so that's something that we're grappling with and trying to figure out. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is funding restrictions. So there have been a lot of funding opportunities coming out through the ARPA funding, through the infrastructure plan. And we have received some of it for positive youth development and for mental health. But One example is that there was a specific category for food insecurity. They wanted community-based organizations to tackle food insecurity and had lots of money available for that, but said that food was not an allowable expense. So our question was, how are we supposed to tackle food insecurity if we can't purchase food? And, you know, so they were practically begging us to apply because they need to distribute this money. And we said, we're not going to take it if we can't purchase food. That's what the need on the ground is. And so that's been a bit of a challenge with some of the funding coming out, is that there are these weird restrictions, which probably are explainable, and exist for a reason, but are challenging to those organizations that are really trying to engage in the work to end hunger. I think that is all that I wanted to mention. Let me see if I had another slide. Nope, I think that's it. So if there are questions, happy to take those, or if there's anything that I missed, please let me know. I see one in the chat from Linda, related to unpredictability and huge spikes. How do people reach us? Linda, do you mean community members that kind of find out about the food distribution, or organizations or individuals that want to partner and help provide some of that food?
Linda, I think you're muted.
Sorry. Oh, there I am. Sorry. Who's the people coming to you that's using you, not your partners, but
yeah,
how do they get in touch with you? How do they communicate that they need something or connect with you?
Sure. So most of them just show up.
Yeah.
We've sort of built a reputation. Everybody knows they can get food on Tuesday evenings. You know, it's been over 2 years now. So they know that we're there on Tuesday evenings. A lot of people just show up. A lot of it is word of mouth. So a lot of times, you know, somebody will drive through. This happens on the days we have tamales. 1 week a month, we have tamales in our sack lunches. And we see the line spike, you know, about 20 minutes after the first people come through, because they text or call their family and say they've got tamales. So lots
I'd be
of
there for that, yeah.
Facebook is also a big one with this particular community. They will message us on Facebook or share flyers around. And then we do get phone calls, text messages. It's a lot of like questions through other people. A lot of word of mouth.
Liz, thank you so much. It was terrific to hear about your program, and we appreciate your efforts in the community too. And thank you to all our presenters tonight. I hope you enjoyed hearing what they're doing. It's just super impressive. We very much appreciate your efforts too. I'm going to then return to our slide presentation and turn this back over to Barbara.
Yeah, I'm going to just quickly run through this and then hand it over to Linda. Just wanted to update everybody. First of all, also just again, Mary Kay, thank you for all the things you've accomplished leading the cause task force. It's a lot of work, but it is a lot of fun and just so enriching to be able to get connected to all the initiatives that are happening in our community, and then take the voting that's happened with women leaders and then apply them to the respondents to our request for proposals. So it is exciting. So far, year to date, we have a little over 33,000 that we'd be able to spend on our annual contribution. I know Mary Kay mentioned that a lot of the giving is done in this final quarter of the year. I know people who rely on their investment portfolios to fund this have a different value in that portfolio at this time this year. So it may impact some of our funding, but we are hoping that those of us that have the ability to make contributions before year end are able to make additional contributions to all these great causes that we get to select and support. All of our contributions come from the new members that join, and any portion of their contributions, ongoing pledges from our existing sustaining members, And then our endowment that we've established. So that's something that provides just a little under 10,000 a year right now, so that we can also add that to whatever we collect during the year. Right now, we're kind of going through a process to review our grant approach and our cause task force work that we do to make sure that, it's been about 6 or 7 years now since we relaunched Women Leaders. It's time to just make sure we have a good process in place and report that out to membership next month. I'm really excited to announce the next year's co-chairs. We decided to go to a co-chair model to lighten the load, if you will. And that will be Carrie Sumi and Val Lester, two of our members. So I wanted to thank both Carrie and Val, who are on the call, for stepping up for that. And we're so excited to have you lead us in this next year to make the grants and evaluate the causes and make those selections as well. So thanks. Linda, and speaking of transition, Linda's going to be taking on the lead for chairing Women Leaders next month. So what's next, Linda, besides you?
Oh, here we go. And what is next? Wow. Well, and again, I'm going to jump in with my recognition and thanks for everybody who presented tonight, and from us and from the grantees. Very interesting. And it just affirms for me why we are here tonight, why we are part of Women Leaders, what we hope to do, and look at just the impacts and the importance of the initiatives that we align with. I love it. It's just so great. So what is next for us? So anyone who is attending as a guest or has joined us in any of our gatherings, if anyone's interested to become a member, please reach out to any of us, Barbara, to me, Lynn Williams, of course, our staff members, Carrie and Helen. If you have any questions and want to know next steps, and if you do that by November, you can join in on launching and having a vote and being a part of creating Women Leaders in the next year too. So welcoming and any new members join in. What is next for us is the annual meeting, which will be taking place in November, Tuesday, November 15th. It will be an in-person gathering at Dominican University. Starts at 5:30 until 7. It will include dinner and a program. We will be joined by the Dominican president, Dr. Glenna Temple, who will speak a few minutes with us and host us in space, the Noonan Reading Room at Dominican. So put that on your calendars and do come. At this meeting, we will review what we've accomplished in 2022. The cause task force begins working this night with a preliminary consideration of causes to fund and an overview of what we'll be doing. And then at this meeting, we elect the 2023 vice chair. So let's pick a good one here, because this person will be working with me through the course of the next year. So let's get going. If you are interested, put your name in. Please nominate yourself or consider nominating a fellow member of Women Leaders. How you can nominate, you can do that by emailing Helen at the foundation. Her email address is hmorales@oprfcf.org. Let her know. You will receive by mail a packet with a nomination form in it. I got mine today, so they were out, and you might get it today or tomorrow. And then return, if you're going to do it by paper, return it by October 20th and anticipate some days in transit and mailing. Or you can just call Helen at the office, and Carrie, you could put up maybe the phone number and let Helen know if you want to vote for someone that way. Also, please consider joining any of our committees, the Cause Task Force or our membership committee. They're interesting and fun as well. It's a wonderful way to be a part of this whole process and the results that come. So if you're interested in any of this, please consider it. And again, if you have any questions about any of it, Barbara, myself, our staff members, Lynn Williams, Mary Kay, any of us would be happy to fill you in on all the details. So that is what's coming up, plenty as we see, and looking forward to an exciting year and many more accomplishments as we align ourselves in our community in this way. Love it. All right, so is it cocktail time? Is that what's the very next thing? All right. This is where we get magically transported into various rooms.
And we'd love to have our organizations who've joined us to share the amazing work you've done in the past year. Please stay on with us, but don't feel an obligation if you have something to get onto for the rest of your evening. We're so grateful for your work.
We are, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so
So
much.
Yes.